All right. All right. What we're currently listening to right now is The Wind Scene Goes Rock from Chrono Trigger by Husky by the Geek. And welcome to this week's Q&A. And do a couple of our dailies while we're waiting. We'll be rating in just about a half hour, so we should have enough time to get through this. All right, so our first question came from Hihi. Yes. How do you have so much patience to help so many groups prog fights you've already cleared many times? This question is probably stemming from the fact that I've been doing 5 DSR groups at the moment, as well as helping UCOB groups on my off times, and we're going to be doing Morning Savages as well, in addition to just Party Finder and helping people prog. And the answer to that is pretty simple. I love Final Fantasy XIV, and I get a really big thrill when we help people do something for the first time, because you could do speed runs and organized settings, you could do optimization, and people call them parse runs when you're just going for personal damage versus group synergy. And for me, when you take somebody through a raid for the first time and they get that first time completion and they're cheering like, yeah, let's go, and they're just totally over the moon, or some people are just like, yes, I did it, nice, everything in between. The answer is you enjoy the combat, you enjoy the experience, and it is self-fulfilling for me to help somebody else get across that finish line too. As you all know, I like teaching people, right? So that coaching aspect of it comes into play largely there. And something like DSR, for example, the newest Ultimate Dragon Songs Reprise, it's still a fight that I'm optimizing as I go in with new jobs. And when we go into UCOB, I can show off things that I know that a lot of players nowadays may not know, and little tips and tricks I've picked up along the way. So in addition to just helping individuals get their first clear, we can also showcase neat tips and tricks and elements of fights as we go. For example, DSR's Sanctity of the Ward. If you had your HUD off, for example, or you weren't sure, you couldn't see where the cast bars are, you're not sure when to pop your anti-knockback on the meteors, right? Well, you're going to see the knight in the center of the arena is going to lean down with his axe. That's when you can pop your anti-knockback if you couldn't see the cast bar. In Twintania in UCOB, you will notice that when she drops her Neurolinks and starts doing more intense mechanics, it's because she's getting stronger as we break off the shackles of her Allegan technology. When you start the fight, she's going to have a necklace. It's going to be a Neurolink around her neck, her tail, and one of her legs. It's her right foot. As you phase her, the tail shackle is going to come off, then the shackle on her foot's going to come off, and you'll see that in the first phase. So neat little information like that. Does it really make a big difference? No. But is it neat? Yeah, I think so. Or how about the side where people are all going to the wrong spot and scrambling on Quick March Trio, and they're confused, and you're a tank and realize that you can pop your anti-knockback on the dives on Quick March Trio, and you can approach the bosses, and as long as you dodge your own twister, you'll be safe and you'll live with a light cooldown. Or during Heaven's Fall Trio, you can also run between Bahamut and Twintania during the configuration of Bahamut, Twin, and Nail. If you don't have a nail safe spot and you wanted to just style, or you wanted a spot where absolutely beyond a shadow of a doubt nobody's going to be there, then you can do that. You can go between Twin and Bahamut. There's a very small safe spot. Additionally, on Grand Octet, if you're not sure how Twintania is going to be baited and you're like, oh gosh, oh heck, I'm not sure what's going to happen, pop your arm's length. It's free there. You don't need it for the rest of the fight, so just use it. And if you didn't need it, you didn't need it. But if it would have prevented a death, then you're going to be really thankful. Just little things like this. As long as you understand how a fight works, really you can execute any strat for a mechanic. All you have to do is understand the mechanic. And it's things like that I like to showcase when we're teaching people. So that's how I have so much patience to help groups prog fights I've already cleared many times. And it doesn't matter if you have a wipe here and there. Maybe you wiped at 2% in rage. Maybe you messed up to a mechanic nobody really makes a mistake on. But you know what? We're all learning at different paces, and not everybody pays attention at all times. There's real life situations, or maybe you just had a long day, mental capacity's lower, and that's just fine. Yeah. Oh, yes, Madcap. That's the other side of it too. So in Uwu, here's another big piece of information. In Uwu, a lot of people don't know this still, you can bait the quadrant Titan will appear after predation in the Ultima phase by pulling Ultima to a quadrant. If you pull Ultima to the southwest, Titan will always appear northeast. I tend to pull Ultima north and then offset him just barely on the west side so that Titan will always be on the southeast, and the dodges for your landslides will always be the same movement every single pull. Every single pull. Beyond that, I think we're ready to move on to our next question. All right, so this is actually going to be 3 questions at once. And I'll read the first part and we'll scroll as we go. So Nee asked, how did you learn to lead? My groups have a few members. Here, I'm gonna correct that. There we go. My groups have a few members that aren't communicating well enough, and it just happens over and over. And I'm not good with confrontation. I'm a nice guy, and I don't want them to dislike me, but it really can't happen anymore. Much love, Rin. Keep up the hard work. So we're going to tackle that in just a second, because it can be very difficult to confront people, especially when a lot of people nowadays don't necessarily want to or have to in many situations. This is going to couple with the second and the third question here. Lucho is asking, as the part 2, how do you handle someone who's always behind on prog and keeps everyone from progressing mechanics by wiping the fight? And I mean in a polite, respectful way without making them feel bad. Talking from a statics perspective and obviously not from a party finder standpoint. And the reason why I'm combining these is because I feel like the answer is going to have a lot of the same ground. And that's really going to go in with the third question here, which is very unfortunate that this is a situation that happened, but we're going to talk about it. Part 3, Steel. Hey Rin, one of our raid members has a thing for another member and would constantly make sexual remarks or jokes at them. None of us think it's working, and she even has him blocked. He's a high performer and ranks quite high on FF logs, so we're hesitating in kicking him. Do you have any ideas? Comment on this one first. So, one of our raid members has a thing for another member and would constantly make sexual remarks or jokes at them. None of us think it's working, and she even has him blocked. This sentence right here that I highlighted, he's a high performer and ranks quite high on FF logs, so we're hesitant in kicking him. No, get rid of that. No. Listen. Being able to push your buttons does not give you an excuse to invade someone's personal space and make them uncomfortable and treat them like an item. It's not okay. You know? Now there is a difference, chat. There's a difference between having somebody who has a crush on somebody and letting them know and then being rejected or accepted or whatever, and harassment. And this is harassment. Okay? I don't care if you're rank 1 in the world on every single job that exists in the game. You could be the best player in the whole damn world. And if you treat somebody like this, get the fuck out. Leave the group. You're not allowed. Get out, have a nice time. Don't let the door hit you on the way out. It's not acceptable behavior. Okay? It is not acceptable behavior. So, he's a high performer and ranks quite high on FF logs, so we're hesitant in kicking him. Here is my personal recommendation, and I'm a little extreme with things, as you guys know. Guys, gals, non-binary pals, you've seen me get upset before. I am very strongly opinionated, okay? I wear my heart on my sleeve because if I didn't, I wouldn't be able to be the person I am today. If somebody is making sexual remarks or jokes to them, and she has him blocked and it's not working, first off, is he aware that it's not okay? He should already. That shouldn't even be like a she has to tell him. He should just already know. That's not something you just decide that is okay, okay? You're not like, well, I'm okay doing this to you, so it's fine. No, that's not acceptable. Secondly, kick him and let him know, while you're a high-performing player, this does not give you an excuse to treat people in a disrespectful manner. I wish you luck in your future endeavors, and hopefully you'll learn some manners when you play with players in the future. Your performance does not give you an excuse for your behavior. Do not sugarcoat it. Do not sugarcoat it. Okay? Tell it like it is. If you kick him and do not give him that reason, do you know what you're doing? You're enabling. You're enabling. The reason you're enabling it is because you're not addressing the behavior, right? You're just pushing it off to someone else. So you have to let them know. You got to let them know. It's not acceptable behavior. And I've seen it happen before, and I've seen it happen time again, and it's not okay. And this is what's wrong with the industry and life in general, right? How many workplaces do you have where harassment happens and people are like, well, they're a really valuable asset, so can you just kind of deal with it? No. No. Screw that. Screw that. And it happens everywhere, not just video games. It happens everywhere, all the time, always. It's just not acceptable. Yeah, it just doesn't. It's not acceptable. So here, I'm gonna rephrase this question. Here, ready? Here's your answer. Where did we cut off on the? Okay, any ideas? Yes. Look. Yes. Get them out ASAP. Let them know. Performance does not excuse behavior. I hope the raid member who has been harassed will be okay, and this hasn't caused any long-lasting trauma. Never accept toxicity in place of performance. Ever. Ever. But this was the third part of the other two questions. So now that I've addressed the difficult part, let's go back to the easy sections of the questions. So Lucho had the part where he was asking, how do you handle someone who's always behind on prog and keeps everyone from progressing mechanics by wiping the fight? And I mean in a polite, respectful way without making them feel bad, talking from a status perspective and not PF pugs. Also, I apologize if I got your pronouns wrong because I forgot to make note of them when I wrote the questions down. How do you handle someone who's always behind on prog? Well, we have a couple of people here in chat, maybe even right now. We'll ask right now, is there anybody in chat who has not been the fastest learner in their group or party finder, and it takes you a little bit longer to understand things than maybe other people? For example, in my static, we now have Mr. Happy, right? You would expect him to be one of the faster learners. So what do you do if you're not learning as quickly as he is, and we're playing the catch-up game where he's waiting for you to just get the mechanic, right? It can be difficult. It can be difficult. And so yeah, exactly. Dan in chat right now, not the fastest learner, but what do? We take the time, we rep it, we keep running until you get it. However, in a group where you're trying to meet a specific goal, sometimes you got to make the tough cuts. Sometimes it's not going to be enough. And it's no offense, but there are groups that get put together with a very specific goal, right? How many people here have seen groups that have taught, or your friends, and they're like, yeah, our goal is to clear Ultimate before 6.2. And you're not even halfway done with the fight. As much as it sucks to say, it's probably not going to happen. You know? If you're working towards the end of the fight, yeah, good chance it'll happen. But if you're like, yeah, we're just getting started, we hope to clear in 4 weeks. You know? It's big copium. It's big copium. So what do? In a polite, respectful way without making them feel bad. And this goes in addition to the beginning. How did you learn to lead, Rin? My groups have a few members that aren't communicating well enough, and it just happens over and over, and I'm not good with confrontation. I'm a nice guy, and I don't want them to dislike me, but it can't happen anymore. Much love, Rin. Keep up the hard work. So, how did I learn to lead in Final Fantasy? Is because I've been a leader in MMOs and games that I've been playing for many years, and I've also been a leader in my occupations prior to playing Final Fantasy and becoming a content creator. I had my own pizza franchise, and I'd been in management across other things pretty much my whole life. When I was growing up, I had a lot of friends who would look to me for decisions on things, and I'm not really ever sure why that happened in the first place, but some people just have... I feel like some people have that quality where they don't mind confrontation, and some people have the quality where they want to avoid it, right? So when you have people who don't mind confrontation but also are compassionate and empathetic, I feel like that makes a pretty good leader. And I'm not saying a boss, right? I'm saying a leader, a team lead, somebody who is there to help empower everybody else, not just push them around. Will you always make the right choices? No, I haven't. And it can be very difficult it can be very, very difficult to not make somebody feel bad, because it is not up to you to decide what you've said is upsetting somebody or not, right? It's how they receive it. And there is some truth to that on both sides. Can people do to have a little bit of thick skin when they're receiving critique? Yes. Are there people out there who do not take critique at all? And if you give them critique on their play, will they take it personally as a person? Yes, that's going to happen. You can't avoid it. In an ideal world, people can be open to honing their skills and taking a critique that is not demoralizing, but just keep it impersonal, right? There's no reason to be like, hey, you're an idiot. Why did you die to that, stupid? Right? That's not necessary. You're like, I can't believe you showed up to raid with fish for your best in slot food. Don't you know we have a pescatarian in the group? And we also have somebody who doesn't like fish at all. So you got to adhere to both of them at the same time. It's weird, right? I'm using obvious extremes that don't exist. But maybe you'll run into a situation where it's like, look, you've missed your tower 8 out of 14 pulls. It's really unacceptable to do it more than twice. What's going on? What can we take care of? Is there something going on that's distracting you? Are you not understanding it? Is it your camera angle, maybe your UI? Are you looking at the wrong thing at the beginning of the mechanic? It's got to stop. What can we do to help you get there? But it has to stop, right? And that should be acceptable feedback. You keep wiping us to something that we should be past. Repeated mistakes. Why is it happening? Why is it continuing? You know, why is this continuing? And more often than not, I have found it's because somebody did not pay attention to the explanation, or did not do their research, or simply do not understand, even with the explanation, and they will not say anything, right? They're like, well, the rest of the team gets it. I should get it too. So I'm obviously not going to say anything, or they're going to think I'm dumb. But you know what? It's better to let them know you don't get it than to purposely wipe the group and waste time because of your pride. And that's what it is. At the end of the day, it's your pride. You can code it any way you want. You could say you're nervous, you're embarrassed, whatever you want, but it is your pride at stake, because you are choosing to spend, let's say you do not understand Death of the Heavens in Dragon Song's Reprise. Every time you get there, you're wasting about 10 minutes, right? You're going to waste about 10 minutes of the group's time because you don't understand and you're just guessing, and maybe you'll get it right and maybe you won't. Rather than asking clarifying questions and being like, look, I need to take 15 minutes now, or 5 minutes, or however long. I need to take 15 minutes now, and I need you to drill it with me, explain it, do some dry examples, or else I'm going to continue to waste our time, right? That is way better than spending 3 hours. So some groups will only meet for 6-8 hours a week. And if you're wasting 5 or 6 of those 8 hours, are you really being a team player? Are you really being a team player? And this is from Static's perspectives, right? And then you also have to make the decision. And this is a problem too. People are like, well, I really want to clear the fight. So it's not fair that they want me to just get better. They should just, I really want to clear the fight, right? Sometimes it's better to step away. Sometimes if you see a group doing really well and you're holding them back, maybe they want to replace you with somebody better if you're not improving. And maybe you need to step back and do something lighter if you feel stressed, right? And that's okay. Totally fine. Show of hands in chat. One in chat if you think that it's acceptable to leave a group or be replaced from a group, because at the end of the day, we can only play with 8 people. Do you think it's acceptable to be replaced or to leave to align your goals with a team that is more in line with what you want? And then 2 in chat if you think that you must always play with the same 8 people and you can't be friends with them if you can't. Because there are people that think that. There are people who I have played with and who've played with me who think that if we're not in a static, we can't be friends. And that's sad. That's really sad. You know, it's unfortunate. You wasn't understanding towers correctly, so you made them talk it over with you, and you're still not 100%, but you have a better understanding. Yeah, and so, but Kiro, if you had never asked that question, what would have happened? What would have happened? You know? Because then what? Then you cause your friends to start getting upset with you, right? Because they're like, come on, man. And even if you don't want it to happen, it's going to happen, right? People are going to start judging you. And if you put yourself into a bad situation, and you want to know, I'll tell you my bad situations. I take on too much. I make my schedule too busy, and then I become unreliable, right? I'm not around when people need me, and they remember that. And it sucks. It sucks. More often than not, now I'm asked to help statics rather. So like you'll see Lamatod, right? And he'll form parties with Party Finder on stream. I get asked to sub in as like the 8th player in a static. And then they're like, well, here's our schedule. And I'm like, oh, okay. I was okay to do it for like one night. But I mean, I still welcome, like, ask me. The worst that happens is I'm not going to be able to come, right? But I want the chance to play with people when I can. But it's very difficult. So that's my weakness. And that's just me. So yeah, how do you become a good raid leader? How do you give the tough decisions? Well, in an ideal situation, you don't have to, like, it can be very difficult to tell if you're a good raid leader or not when things are going well. It's when things don't go well that it really tests your mettle, right? Because if things are going fine, everybody shows up on time, you're getting all your goals, things are smooth, nobody needs to be spoken to about anything, everybody's just on the same page, everybody's equal skill level. That's great. That's great. It's when something's not going smoothly that you start to see how the team will work. Yeah. Hero, that's a weakness. It is a weakness. Having the weakness of not asking for help when you know you need to. You're not helping anybody. You're not helping anybody. It does suck. Would I be doing UCOB with randoms today? If so, Fix, we'll probably do UCOB throughout the rest of this week. But today I have Kogon's UCOB, and then I have my Statics DSR, and then I have Life's DSR. So Tuesdays and Mondays are pretty packed for me. It's throughout the rest of the week that it's okay. And additionally, if anybody wants to come help us with Audrey's Savage Learning, tomorrow morning, 11 a.m. Eastern, I'll be looking for anybody to help out. That's on the 26th. Is Glitch Energy actually healthy? So they're actually redoing all of their formulas. They're redoing all of their formulas. Next month, we're going to have a total repush. They wanted me to come down to do some PR events, but they want me to come down the week of Savage. I can't do it. So I'm going to do at-home stuff. But right now, Glitch Energy is more healthy than a lot of brands out there, Munch. They don't have any sugar in their products, and they have ingredients. I always comment on bilberry, which helps combat against like the blue lights on your monitors. So they have a lot of really good products, and starting next month, it should be completely good products. I think it's coconut sweetener is going to be what's going to cause the products to still be sweet. But yeah, I strongly recommend them. And you can check out my link right there for Glitch. You get 25% off your order if you use my code. And if you wanted to just try a couple of samples, their starter pack is $17 for a shaker and 7 flavors. If you were to get 7 energy drinks at the store, you'd spend a lot more money, right? And then you just get to try them out. If you like them, you like them. If you don't, you don't. I'm looking for all rolls. Audrey's gonna tank. I would like to tank with her, so that way we can work together. Yeah, 8 PST, Joy. 8 PST. 1 hour earlier, because that's her 1 in the morning. So it's gonna be like beginning of my day, end of her day. We're gonna try to meet up a little bit. Yo, Todd. We're going over a few more questions before we head over. Okay, so look, we've covered those. Let's head on. Soul Mooney is asking, hey Rin, I'm super interested in getting my feet wet with Uwu and ultimate rating in general. However, I don't really know how to start. Do you have any things that I should do first before trying ultimates, as well as places that help and run fresh progs for ultimates for first timers? Yes. If you want to, you could either make your own party, if you feel comfortable doing so, for fresh learning. You can watch videos and guides. There is a beautiful, beautiful video, which I hope somebody in chat can grab for me if they don't mind real quick while we're talking. There is a Tessin Twin Tails guide to Uwu, which I actually helped voice act for some of it recently with Lamatod and Saranaya. And it has a really good video, really good guide. There it is. Thank you so much, Set. that is the perfect way to start Uwu. Ultimate rating in general, there are multiple discords. And if you join mine, after we're done with this segment, I'm going to pin all of the different discords for data centers where you can learn for pugging. They do reclears, they do learning, all different prog points, and you should be able to hopefully get some things going. Otherwise, make your own parties. Outside of that, try to join. If you see parties that are up, and if you're a veteran, go in and help them too. Go in and help them. You know how many times I'll see a party and it's like, clear for one, let's go do it, right? Let's take a look right now. Look, 10 strike prog, quick march trio. Look at that. Clear for one on P4S. You just jump in. You just jump right in, right? Right. Exactly, Mad. Tessen's guide got you the clear. We're all the traps at the end of the day. Oh, you know what? Commenting on one more thing that I'm reading right now. When you're giving bad news to somebody in a team, it can be really good to do it privately. If you do it in front of the entire team, it can be a little demoralizing, right? However, sometimes there's information that everybody wants to give feedback on, and so having a public domain, well, public, it's just with your static, right? But having the 8 of you able to freely comment on one another can be beneficial, but you have to make sure that if you're in an environment like that, you do also comment on what goes well. If you're giving bad news to somebody, also give them good news, right? Otherwise, it's going to feel like they're just being ganged up on and bullied, and you don't want that to happen. If you do something privately, please make sure you have a neutral party present as a third person. As much as I would hate to say this, life in general has drama, right? This works in Final Fantasy, it works in real life, it works everywhere, right? Where if it's only you and the other person, when you both come out the other side of it, you can spin whatever stories you want, and who's to say who's right and who's to say who's wrong? There's no proof or evidence to back it up. Get a neutral third person to be present when the conversation takes place. That way you have credibility, right? That way it prevents any big drama from happening. Imagine I had to get kicked from a static by Joy, and nobody was there. And then I come out and I'm like, all right, so apparently Joy hates me and said I should die in a fire and that I can't play with her anymore because I'm trash, right? Theoretically, I could say that, and without anybody else present, you know? But then if I'm like, okay, Todd Yuso's present, right? So now Joy kicks me from the group and she's like, Rin, you meme a little too much and you're not quite focused enough, and I thought we'd prog further and we didn't, so you gotta go. And then I come out the other side of it and I go, so Joy hates me and said I should die and that I'm stupid. And then Todd Yuso goes, yep, I heard it. Have a neutral party present. Yo, Stefan, thank you. Oh, it's time to start. Okay, it's time to start. Okay, so real quick, that's how you get through your ultimates. And then we can blitz through these questions real quick, and then we're gonna hop over. How tough is it to re-clear Dragon Song once you've progged the fight, and can any player that cleared P4S clear it as long as they put in the effort with the group? Yes, you can clear it as long as you've cleared P4S and you have the determination and the time. Time is the biggest factor. Temper your expectations, it can be really difficult. How hard is it to re-clear? Depends on the strats. If everybody's using the same strats, it shouldn't be that bad. However, it could still be big memes. Thoughts on EBE9318? Praise EBE9318. We're gonna switch over. We're gonna switch over to Primal right now. Praise EBE9318. Are there any cool indie or AAA titles that you'd recommend looking for future fun times? Yeah, I actually wrote down a few when I saw the question. Tunic was really, really fun. I love that game. It's got a lot of puzzles. It's really good, so if you like puzzle solving, go for it. Guilty Gear Strive we started last night, and I heard that Joy's gonna pants me soon and beat me up a lot so I can learn to get better. Game was really cool. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge, if you like a beat 'em up. It's a nice arcade slasher, so you could try that game if you want to try it. I tried to list a game for like different genres, but it really does. It depends on what genre you're after. Additionally, maybe you like Death's Door, right? Death's Door is fantastic. I thought it was a really, really good game. It's got some puzzle solving, platforming, and it's awesome. And then there's obviously older games. Hollow Knight, how could you dodge that one? right? Digimon Survive is coming out on the 29th of July. It's going to be really cool. It's going to be like a Shin Megami Tensei type kind of game with Digimon, obviously, so I'm really excited for that. Elden Ring has been super popular, and who couldn't forget the critically acclaimed MMORPG Final Fantasy XIV that has a trial and other stuff too. Also, I've been watching Live Alive, and it seems pretty cool. Why do people prefer warriors so much over any other class? If you mean for tanking, well, in general, it has a very low CPM. Yo, Dio, welcome in, Sly. We're doing our Q&As. I started them up in November, and then I took a break when we had the whole expansion happen and everything. We're starting them back up. So you're currently on a live recording. Hello, say hi, Mom. You get Primal Rend, which is a super cool ability, and Fell Cleaves give you the feely good energies in your brain, right? They stimulate a lot of neurons. They fire them off in my brain. I love them. I love them. That's why I like Warrior. Also, Gunbreaker could be a little overwhelming since it's a very strict rotation. Dark Knight could be a little overwhelming since a lot of players don't necessarily manage their mana well or pool for burst windows, and it gets very busy. So maybe you have high latency, or maybe you just want something a little bit more simple. Warrior's home gang recast being so short also allows you to get multiple invulns in fights that other tanks otherwise wouldn't. Paladin's got a really good rotation, but people can get tripped up with their skill speed and going between magic and physical combo. And then Tyler asks, as someone who played a lot of Gunbreaker last expansion, but not so much this expansion, I would love to hear what changes you'd like to see to the job, perhaps in a future update. Thanks so much. Also, as a follow-up, who's your favorite VTuber? Mine's Muna Hoshinova. So I'm a little biased right now because I gotta simp for my Final Fantasy VTubers, right? We got some really nice ones out here in this community. But Celeste does often link us over to Gura. I like Korone. She was like my spirit VTuber for DSR Prague. So I channeled the confidence much live. But going back up to the beginning, I'm not sure if you meant you haven't played Gunbreaker much this expansion, or I haven't played Gunbreaker much this expansion. I've been playing Gunbreaker a lot. Gunbreaker a lot. It just might not seem like it because I play all of the tanks. So depending on the time, it might be like, okay, well, it looks like Rin doesn't play this anymore, right? But I have been. Changes I would see in the future. I have no idea what this password is. Uh-oh. I have no idea what the password is. Kogan, please. Somebody tell me the password. Somebody tell me the password. 9318. EBE? No. Okay, I have no idea. Changes I would see to Gunbreaker. Right now, their rotations are pretty strict, needing to generate 3 cartridges for their certain bursts. So I'm not sure that I would keep it that way. I thought that we would get a 2-cartridge OGCD, or just maybe like... So here's an idea I thought of. Whether or not it's a cool idea, we'll leave to be determined. Originally, I said, oh, it would be kind of neat if Double Down didn't cause you to be so strict with your timing for its 2 cartridges. What if Double Down had a scaling potency based on the number of cartridges you had when you used it, and it would expend all cartridges upon use? So if you had 1 cart, 2 carts, 3, or 0, it would be a relative potency, but it would not cripple your rotation if you mismanaged or died. Or had downtime, right? Sometimes fights just have downtime and you're not hyper optimized on it yet, or there isn't a good solution. So something like that could be a fix, right? Could be a fix. Essentially, yeah, I thought of it kind of like Bard, a little bit, kind of like Bard, in the same way that Bloodletter procs are kind of procced, sort of like continuation, but not really. That's one change that I thought might be a little bit neat for Gunbreaker. What was my favorite gaming moment? I have too many. The first time I cleared UCOB is pretty high up there, though. And there have been many moments just throughout history playing video games with my brother, my friends. First time I beat Kingdom Hearts. Oh my god, cried my eyes out. That was amazing. It was fantastic. There are a lot of really good gaming moments in history. A lot of really good gaming moments. Hi, Ari. It can be difficult to pinpoint one because you make a lot of moments with your friends. I had a lot of memories from this old MMO called Tibia, where I met many friends, and we had absolutely beautiful, fantastic memories together, just trying to survive. It was awesome. It was awesome. You could be a job from Final Fantasy XIV in real life. What would it be and why? And what do you think would be the most commonly picked job? Do disciples of Hand and Land, like do crafters and gatherers, count as well? Because those are practical, right? Like a goldsmith? Dude, if you, okay, listen, all I'm gonna say is if you were an alchemist, you'd be set for life, right? If you were an alchemist, you'd be set for life. And no, I did not learn my lesson. But I did hear that Nina Tucker and her dog were pretty inseparable. So, you know, in a show where they have really good bonds between people and dogs, how could you really make a mistake? I'm having a bit of a hard time with opening pulls and bosses that need to be brought to the middle. Gap closing and running back, then flipping around feels bad. And so does unmending and just waiting for stuff to come over before running. What's the proper way to do this? Sprint. If you sprint, you'll have a much easier time to reposition the boss. Additionally, pre-pull, you can get Peloton, which is the speed buff from your physical ranged, Peloton, Peloton, Green Running Man, and just practice. Just drill it. Practice, practice, practice. Yes, your opener's busy. Yes, I believe you can do it. And then what is your favorite cheese? I already wrote the answer in. It's LB cheese. I'm lactose intolerant, but LB cheese will never stop me. And that's it for our Q&A today. We're going to get into Kogon's Yukon party. We'll see you next week for the next video.